we should be unmuted. There we go. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another monthly challenge critique stream. This is for the May monthly challenge that we're streaming in June. And with me, as always, is Alice. And
Hi.
yeah, we're going to be taking a look at your guys' work and doing some paint overs today. So yeah, if anyone is randomly joining or randomly watching this later, we do monthly challenges in our Discord server. It's discord.gg/artbros, and you can hop in there. And yeah, we do a theme like this every single month, and you can just submit a piece, and we'll do a paint over at the end of the month. So, yeah, let's kind of dive right into it. So the prompt this past month was, as I stepped past the threshold, I found myself in a peaceful place. So I like to try to keep these pretty vague because, as you can see, everyone ends up making such different pieces, which is so cool. So it gives
Yeah.
us a lot of variety.
Yeah. I like the we have like a cool distinct color palette across everybody's work this week or this
Mm-hmm.
month.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you have a preference of who we should start with? Or is any of these
Uh
standing out to you?
no, I will riff off of you. Pick your fave and
I think Megaliths is maybe a good one to start with. So I'm gonna just drag
sure.
this in. It's funny, Megalith always has these nice kind of peaceful, intimate scenes in her work. I guess last time
Yeah.
she had more of a dramatic piece, but I'd say typically she's got more like whimsical kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so this is actually the character that I'm pretty sure this is the character that she designed in the mentorship with me, which is
Oh,
pretty cool.
cool.
Or this was a
Yeah.
character that I think she had before that we worked on pushing in the mentorship, I guess is a more
Hmm.
accurate statement. But it's cool to see that she's still using this character, and obviously she's peering through and these little like cool little fox guys. I think the
Are they
biggest
foxes with bunny tails?
yeah, I guess they are.
Aw,
That's
that's really
adorable.
sweet. Yeah.
And I do think she said that this isn't like totally finished. So a lot of our
Mhm.
critiques, guys, take with a grain of salt. I'm just gonna like critique it as I see it. Um, I think the biggest issue right off the bat is like a composition thing, and I
Mm.
think sometimes it helps to just like drag out guidelines to see what's happening in like a rule of thirds scenario. Um, yeah, so it's like
Makes sense. It's nowhere near done.
nowhere near
So,
done. Okay,
yeah.
okay, good to know. So yeah, like I'm not necessarily a stickler for specific types of composition techniques, but
Hmm.
sometimes you can utilize things like this to at least like give you a better starting point. I think also it's just kind of awkward to have a how do I explain this, like a tall uh, frame. Wait, also, oh never mind. Let's see what we can do if I duplicate this. Already I feel like this
Yeah,
is
that works so
getting a
much
little bit more
better.
interesting. This is like a common theme I feel like I see a lot when we do these streams is art. I see artists tending to it's almost like add too much space for like no reason. It's almost like
Uh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you,
yeah,
but
yeah,
Viera says your volume's a little low.
it's a little low. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for the heads up. Let me
Hmm.
put my mic closer to my mouth first of all, and let me see what else I can do. Turn up my volume a little bit. Let's see. How do you turn the volume up on this? The gain, just a bit. Check check. Is that any better, guys? I think I'm still quiet. Uh,
You sound fine to me, but
okay.
I'm getting your audio from a different mechanism, so.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me know if this is any better in front of my mouth, guys. Um, yeah, I can see me being. Let me turn Alice down a little bit too.
And be
Check, check.
quieter.
There we go. I think that should be okay. Okay, so the thing that I see quite often is artists tend to leave all this like extra empty space for like no,
Mhm.
no apparent. Sounds a little bit better. All right, let me just try to fix this really quick, guys. I think it's probably my
Mhm.
input. My bad.
I know what you're talking about though. Like this is something that I really struggle with personally. Um, that like it's a little intimidating to try and pick the uh like star of your composition, right? Or to like get that focus really clean and sharp. Um, so I think the padding thing is like, trying to hedge your bets and be like, oh, well, maybe it just needs a little more space to feel right. But doing this more zoomed in, um, trimmed composition, like it already just made even the feeling of entering the space feel more um, appropriate.
Yeah. I I check. Hello, testing testing. Let me bump this up even more. Check. Is that better, guys? Maybe a little bit. I don't know why my mic would be coming in so quiet. It's super weird.
Hmm.
Sorry, guys. Check.
My
Yes, better. Okay. Am I like blasting in your ear now, Alice?
No, not at
No.
all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, let's get back to it. Okay,
Hmm.
so yeah, extra empty space around the edges. Oh, this is what I was gonna say. Is like, I think anytime you're doing anything with art, always tell yourself go big or go home. So if you're gonna add extra space, it's like add a lot of extra space so that your character is small in comparison, or
Hmm.
it's like your character's all the way over to the right and then you have all this empty space on the left. Like those are the types of things that make like really dynamic compositions. So with something like this, what I was trying to figure out is like, can we get her head kind of in like more of the upper third sort of
Yeah.
section, and then what I was gonna do is grab kind of all this stuff,
Hmm.
copy it, and make it feel a little bit smaller. There we go. This is what I was looking for. The other thing too is I just don't like these, like, it's like either a square or landscape. It doesn't really help. Let me actually see what the size of this is. Yeah, this is just like weird dimensions. I don't know if Megala, you were trying to frame a certain aspect ratio for a certain reason, but I'm just gonna also show you like how much more dynamic this is gonna look when we start putting like black bars on there. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's like
Y-
couple simple shifts, and we already look like we're in a movie.
Yeah. I I feel like trying to do some thumbnails or sketching in the 16 by 9 aspect ratio uh would be like a good practice because like the sort of chunkier one is less uh easy to get the more cinematic feel. Um like you do have too much extra space in the wrong places.
Yeah, I would say otherwise, if you're going to try to do kind of a stranger aspect ratio, I would try to find something like a card art format
Hmm.
like Magic the Gathering or something like that. And I don't, maybe this is kind of that, because I know it's like kind of a squashed rectangle. It's not a perfect square, those images
Hmm.
usually, but I would grab like whatever those specific dimensions are and try to
Yeah.
yeah, paint like that. But yeah, like Alice was saying, doing thumbnails and really planning out your scene first and having like a reason for doing stuff. The other thing I like to think about with composition as well is just like how your eye leads around. So you are kind of like swooping these things, but is there an elegant way of really doing something like this? Like coming from the fox bunnies and swooping your way back to the character. And
Hmm.
there's different ways that you can do that, right? Like we can manipulate the ground a little bit better to like almost like have this sort of path that leads to the character in a diagonal. There's things
Hmm.
we can do with like lighting. I'm not going to try to do a lighting pass on this because it's like so early on, but we could like I don't know, maybe they're more in shadow and she's more in light. There's things we can do to just lead your eye
Yeah.
to the focal point, right? The other thing I would say too, if we go back to the beginning, here's another go big or go home moment. Like there is a bit of like a curvature to these things, but like I
Hmm.
would really give this like depth. Like one is here, one is here, like kind of
Yeah.
like maybe they're a lot more like occluded by these hanging things as well. This is a weird tangent, so maybe there's like more of a tuft of something here, and then it
Hmm.
kind of tufts out here if you're going to have something rimming the side of the canvas like that.
Yeah.
Or you just get rid of that, or you have like a bunch of things kind of here, so it makes a shape that
Hmm.
that goes off the canvas as opposed to just like a line, because those are the things that our eyes like unfortunately like see immediately. And
Yeah.
yeah, we want to, it's almost like you inadvertently like get annoyed at looking at certain things, and you're like, why am I annoyed at this? And it's just it's a tangent thing, right? So,
Right.
and this is not just a Nick issue. This is like, anyone that looks at it would notice that, even if they couldn't explain to you why it bothers them. So
Yeah.
those are things to always
It's
look out
also
for.
a very easy mistake to make. Like
Yes.
even people who have been professionals and creating, like movie posters or album art or whatever, like you'll see tangents in there all the time that somebody just didn't catch.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, oh, I've told this story a million times, but I when I was a lot younger, I had an art director, and he went he looked at one of my paintings and he literally just went like this. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, look at the composition you're making. You always make these like weird tangent X's on every single thing you make. And it's just one of those things like you're saying, Alice, where it's like you sometimes don't even realize you're doing stuff like this until someone either points it out or whatever. But when someone points it out, that's when you need to just be a little bit more conscientious and be like, okay, am I putting tangents anywhere? I'm going to take a quick look around at the point I'm
yeah.
at to see if I can knock any of that stuff out. So, just trying to think of what else she could do to kind of set herself up for success with this one.
Hmm.
Maybe like add some like foreground elements too that will push the,
Yeah. Oh, that's my favorite trick ever. If
yeah.
you're doing something in a natural environment, just be like extra plants
Yep.
everywhere.
Why not?
This one is crossing over this one. You get so much layering.
Yeah, why not? So,
Um, I wonder also about like the palette is very cool so far. Um, and I think you don't have to move away from that. It can be sort of a very cool tone piece, but picking like one or two spots that you really want to enhance or like bring to the attention of the viewer with a nice like vibrant hot color could really be a benefit in this piece, I think.
yeah. I was just thinking the place we could do that is like their little yellow glowing eyes, and also
Mm-hmm.
maybe pump up the saturation on their tails as well. Um just trying to see what I can do with some, just a little bit of lighting.
Yeah.
Um
Forest scenes are also really tough because there's so much like, especially in like a leafy forest scene, it's you get so much ambiance from the way that the light comes through the trees, so that there's like just sort of a greenness to the air.
Mm.
Uh, and I'm always very impressed when somebody can translate that to painting. But I personally think it's very hard. So uh, it's it, you've chosen a tough subject, Meg, but I think it's going well so far.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do like the colors. The one thing I would say too is I know you're kind of laying in your local colors for the figure, but um, I would at even at this early stage kind of match them more to where is she right here? Match them more to oh this is what I had before, isn't it? Yeah,
Where
I
she's
like
closer
this.
to
I
the
like this
yeah.
even better when she's really close.
Meg says she's been banging her head against the wall with this one.
Ah, really? I think it's going the right
There's
direction.
so many good things going
Yeah,
on
yeah,
with it.
yeah. I just want to show you guys really quick too. Just trying to. I think it's like the color of the skirt, the color of the shirt. It's like too what is it like light blue or something. I would like shift things more green. Like this is like a navy color,
Hmm.
and just yeah. This is like an easy trick. I'm sure Meg has this stuff all separated anyway. You just like use the hue saturation thing and you just kind of move it until you're like, huh, does that look a little bit better in the scene? Like, what if we
Yeah.
go the opposite direction? We go like warmer. I know that's not her color, but you already kind of have this purple tree, so you could kind of match that up as well. That actually looks kind of interesting. And just like even the color of the hair, the brown color of the hair, just like doesn't totally look quite right.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a superpower when you unlock the ability to put that uh like filter of your lighting quality on in your head and start painting in those colors uh as affected by the lighting without having to start with the local color. Does that make sense?
Uh, say it again.
Okay. So this was something that you worked with me on
Mm-hmm.
a lot. It's like if you want to paint a scene with a sort of like cool, gentle light like this, that's quite blue green,
Mm-hmm.
and you already apply the interaction of the light like onto
Yeah,
sort of
basically like
skipping the local color stage.
yeah, basically like implementing the environment color into the local colors. Is that what you're
Yeah,
talking about? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it just depends on what she wants the final product to look like as well. Like how
Mhm.
much you're rendering this, or if you're doing more cell shaded stuff or whatever. But I'm trying to think of like quote unquote like easy ways to do this. When I paint big scenes like this, I'm typically throwing my environment colors into my figures like sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So on her legs, like in the shadows would just be a little bit more cool, like this, right? This will allow the peachy color of her skin to stand out more. On the on
Hmm.
the undersides of her arms, there's going to be bounce light from the ground that's like green grass or whatever that's bouncing right back on the underneath of the arm. So I
Hmm.
think it's more about yeah mapping out like what you want your you know your overall lighting scenario to be, and then making sure everything is like fitting with that. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like if you know everything is going to be like greenish, then everything's going to shift more towards green. So
Hmm.
I guess I can just do a little ball study really quick too. So let's say this is like the local color of her skin, in the shadow areas. Let's say like the shadows are more greenish and the lights are
Mhm.
more bluish or whatever. So the skin is going to pick up a lot of this green color.
Yeah.
Where the transition happens from light to or from dark to light, that's where you see a lot of that saturation happening typically. So you can even like kind of bump this up even more.
Is that the terminus?
Terminator.
Terminator.
Yeah. And
I was
then
close.
yeah. And then in terms of the lighting, like I would literally like grab cool colors and like
Hmm.
blend this in. Like now you're kind of developing a palette for yourself that's not man, I keep having this soft eraser. That's not like grounded in just like skin is peach, the skirt is
Yeah, it's
blue.
not a Crayola
Yeah,
crayons
yeah.
box. I This is a trick that I've used a couple times that I mixed success, but maybe somebody who is a little more thoughtful about it can get better success than I have. I'll take like the skin color, the most saturated, sort of purest piece of skin color that I have figured out, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'll use blend modes on top of it to get like, all right, well, if the grass color was really saturated, you know, how would it uh like affect the skin, sort of using like either overlay or soft light or hard light if it needs that. But um I don't I
Yeah,
don't super love it as a, like, it feels like a starting place, not like this is exactly the color I should use.
yeah, 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 yeah. Kind of like you're saying, you can even just like throw it over your whole painting and
Hmm.
start playing around with this and see like, okay, how does green affect brown? How does green
Yeah.
affect blue or whatever? Just yeah, it's kind of like a way to go from there. But
Hmm.
this method has always kind of worked for me because it makes sure that everything is consistent because
Yeah.
it's like thinking about oil painting, right? Like on an oil palette, you have a certain amount of colors that you're always pulling from. You're mixing them together. With digital painting, we've got like a million colors. So the easiest way to do this is to start pulling from the paint you already have on your canvas into your other
Yeah.
colors. So cool. All right. Well, hopefully this helped, Meg. I think if you have a way to kind of easily reorient your composition a little bit, you're gonna set yourself up a little bit better for a more interesting and dynamic piece. I know she said I use Procreate on an iPad. I often start in the standard screen size. I need to adjust it more. Yeah,
Hmm.
the standard iPad screen size is like a weird like rectangle, I think.
It's
So
like a sheet of paper almost.
is it
I don't think it's exactly 8 by 10, but it sort of
that kind of
feels that
thing?
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't use an iPad to paint, so yeah, yeah, I would have a template maybe for yourself. Just for
Mhm.
just at least I think practicing with more standard aspect ratios is just going to help you when you want to do a weirder aspect ratio.
Yeah.
That makes
Uh,
sense.
but I really like this piece, Meg. I hope that you got something useful out of us talking about it, because I want to see more progress. I think it's nice.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right. Guys, is my mic better now or am I still really quiet? Um Okay, let's move on to let's look at BRO's piece.
Nice.
And
That little guy's face.
that's so funny. Okay. So he's gone like ultra wide with this one. This is cool.
Hmm.
I think this is another instance. I feel like a lot of what I'm going to be critiquing is composition because I guess this prompt lent itself more towards a. I just realized I moved us and our faces are covered. There we go. this problem lent itself more towards a like a scene than just like a character or whatever. So yeah,
Hmm.
we'll be talking more about composition. Yeah, so I would say first of all, like this statue in the front, I would make this thing bigger. Here's a tangent right here between the finger and the little flag thing
Yeah.
right there. And just like the overall way it's sitting kind of like vertically against the side, it's almost like the same thing we were seeing with Meg's piece.
Yeah.
So we can maybe like pull this out more, and then we can see a little bit more of the side of the body.
Yeah. I think I was I was worried about the fact that the head cut off in the way that it did, but I think now that you've made it larger, it works better.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's actually nice sometimes to
Yeah.
have things like yeah fall off the canvas. Makes it gives you that feeling of like you're in the scene, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to like I'm an artist and I composed a painting kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things, and this is something that I got to really work on with BRO, is pushing is contrast. Like I know these
Mm.
are marble statues, so that's tough, right? Because there's a lot of bounce light happening, but with something like this, you have to utilize your occlusion shadows as best you can to really pop out your darks. So like an opportunity to do that would be like here, like where the tail is kind of meeting the back, like
Yeah.
this shadow in itself is really gonna push that. I'm
Hey, I
also
will point out
yeah.
though that BRO has pulled some of the green from the grass up into the arm. Um like, there are uh color moments that are, would feel consistent with how a marble statue would reflect light, because marble has that beautiful sort of pearliness
Yes.
that picks up light so well. But I agree that, like, I did a study of a marble statue a while ago, and like the light wasn't special or anything. It was like
Mm,
a photo I took at a museum, and still there was so much difference from the brightest brights to the darkest darks. And I
yes.
kept finding colors that I was like, this is weird, but
Yeah.
it looks right and it feels right. So
Yeah, I would not be afraid either to like go like even though this it's kind of like a sunset scene it seems like. I would not be afraid to go like really bright. And one thing I'll mention as just a generalized tip is just because you're going saturated does not mean you're going bright necessarily. Bright means you're always going towards white, not always just saturation. So you can see once I pumped in some more like actual brightness, how much that helps it stand out
yeah.
now.
I had a fascinating conversation with my husband, who is not an artist,
Mm,
about what the difference between saturation and lightness and like tint and value, like all these different things. And he was like, I'm so confused. Aren't they all the same thing? And I was like, no, they're really not.
yeah, it's a lot to know. Um, I,
It is a lot to know, which is why it's like, if you're a learning artist, or somebody who is, doing this more as a hobby, like it's okay to be confused or struggle with these concepts because it's a lot.
yeah. Um, so like this is another. This is like an how do I say it? Like this is a basic shape that you can create out of this, right? Like there's the lighting that is kind of angling this way, so the top plane is going to get lit the most, and then I'd probably say this this plane right here is going to get lit second, and then back here is going to be the darkest. So just set yourself up for success by just like making that very very apparent that there's three different planes on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing that BR needs to work on like all around his pieces. He's kind of doing it on the character here. Like that's looking crisp and better and more dynamic brush strokes. But I'm like clipping now. But yeah, with everything else, it's like he really has to just think about how the light is falling. So if I were to just again look at the statue, and he's kind of telling me based on this cast shadow and kind of the lighting there that the lighting is going this way. So let's just look at this thing and try to plot out where is the light hitting. And wherever the light is not hitting, that means it's shadow. And then we can factor in bounce light, we can factor in the skylight, but at the very least, we have a directional lighting situation. We might as well just figure out, like, okay, the light's going to hit the front of the head here. The head
Yeah.
might cast a little bit of a shadow there, so I messed up there. Just at that angle of my arrow, you see the chin will kind of cast a shadow, but the light will start kind of banding around the trap right there. It will start
Mm-hmm.
banding around here. Um, Depending on the angle of the light, it's probably going to actually light like this whole top portion of the forearm,
Yeah.
like that.
There is something that I've been noticing about this, and actually the way that you just sort of sketched in that light really brings it to the forefront. I think Yarrow is not thinking in 3 dimensions
Mm.
as much as he should. Um, I don't know if you ever did this exercise when you were studying, but like trying to draw the entire draw as if you're uh, drawing a line around the entirety of the object. So you
Like you're
have to
drawing a
like
3D model, kind of.
yeah, like
Yeah.
you like a wireframe
Yeah, yeah,
around a
yeah,
3D
yeah.
model. And it really makes you think about like, okay, well, this is taking up this amount of space and volume in like the world that I'm rendering. So I have to think about how like other objects will interact with that and the negative space. And I think that concept is really helpful for when you're trying to get into values and rendering because if you're thinking about the object as it is or as it would be for in like these invented scenes um, as a 3D piece, then like you have a much clearer idea of like, well, it's round, so like there's going to be more volume in here, and like this is where the light is going to come across it. So it's a drawing concept I think that like translates very well into painting.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. The other thing I was going to suggest as well too, and I forget if I think I've suggested this to him before, but
mhm.
what broke my brain the most about lighting and shadow and stuff was getting into a 3D program and just like putting lights in places
Yeah,
around a figure or a 3D model so I can really understand. Like I'm literally like positioning the angle of the sunlight, and then I'm like,
mhm.
okay, now I get, okay, if the angle of the sunlight's looking like that, it's gonna fall on the figure in this way. It's gonna cast this sort of shadow, and
Yeah, absolutely.
especially with the digital tools we have, like even mocking up a scene like this, you could do relatively easily with just some like basic shapes and
Hmm.
whatever, like cylinders and stuff like that, because this is a very architectural scene, so making sure that your perspective is correct and all that stuff, it's kind of like, yeah, it is probably a good idea to learn how to draw all that stuff from scratch, but also I think utilizing the 3D tools to assist you with that stuff also helps you learn how it works as well, because you're
Yeah,
seeing the space. So
yeah. It's and if you're not comfortable with 3D, you can even do a rudimentary version of this, like with at like
like
little like
toilet
a
paper
Lego
rolls or
figure
something, yeah.
and a toilet paper roll and like whatever you have to hand and like move your lamp around it
Mm-hmm.
and see like okay, how does this work? BRO says I definitely should have set this up in 3D first. And
Mm.
like it's just it's a tool. It would have saved you a lot of pain. So no guilt or shame
Yeah, it always
for
feels
not trying it
like
out.
it's going to be more of a pain in the butt to go in and do the 3D stuff, but then once you have something you're happy with compositionally, it's just going to be night and day to paint over something like that. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I would
yeah.
definitely recommend that.
You start to get like little references that your brain can build on. Like even if you just have those primitive shapes or toilet paper rolls, you're like, oh well, the back of this is in this kind of bluer shadow. So
Yes.
that means that if it were more complicated, like these pieces would be in that blue shadow too. Um, so yeah, I if I'm going to do something as uh, dynamic as this composition I think is, I would suggest trying it out in 3D first.
I do think that you've got like a cinematic scene going on, and
Yeah, absolutely.
your colors. I think the biggest thing with your colors is I can tell you're using like overlays and stuff like that. And what that usually means is when someone can tell you're using that, you're not punching out the like juicy. You see what I'm doing with my color palette? Like you got to start pushing more to the right and like throwing in. That's why I was saying on your figure, you kind of have some of that going on, just like, but it's like there's this paleness that is
Yeah.
popping underneath it that I can tell is being sprayed on. So yeah, that's like we shouldn't be able to see the lightness pop through this, especially on like a down facing plane such as this,
Hmm.
for example. So like this should basically all be relatively one. You see how even me just doing this already makes it feel so much more crisp. And then if we want to
Yeah.
add a little bit of a gradient, right, we just paint upward from this edge. We're saying like, okay, at the angle, yeah, like maybe it's getting hit here a little bit more, but I'm going to actually paint in the light. Like, okay, we're going to go more towards orange, go a little bit brighter, and then it's kind of an ugly color.
Yeah.
Something.
I feel as though like you can block in the light uh quickly with blend modes and use that as a starting um concept. Like
Mm-hmm.
it'll be like a building block for you, but trying to like completely build your scene using that sort of digital tool is less helpful in the long run, and also it's kind of visible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do really like these like glowy purples though of the flowers
Mm-hmm.
that are poking through.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice color palette. It just needs to be more like I don't know how else to explain it, just like firm,
Yeah.
intentional.
um yeah, it feels a little timid,
Mm-hmm.
um which a
So
lot of
like
pieces in the beginning do feel timid, but
yeah, like even like the shadow under here. Like I know that statues have a softer, shadow because they're like really smooth, whatever. But just like go and lay some hard strokes in there, you know what I mean? Like just dig into it.
yeah. Yeah, think about how the sculptor had to, like carve away at that with powerful strokes.
Yeah.
Embody that dude as he was making this piece.
Yeah, exactly. Like the lighting would
Have you ever
hit the
seen those
back.
Michelangelo pieces that like he just didn't care about smoothing them over?
No.
And you can just see the gouge marks. And he
Really?
was like, I'm just gonna leave them like this. Yeah,
Oh,
it's pretty
that's
cool.
cool.
I,
I gotta look at that.
I have somebody knocking at my door. Hold
All
on
right,
a
go
second.
for it. Go for it. All right, I will pick another
There you
piece.
are. Come in. My dog, everyone.
Welcome.
Oh, okay, bye. I'll just leave the door open. He thinks that it's his dinner time, but it is not.
Okay, so Markov kind of did almost exactly the there is paint over in this. Huh. Okay.
That might be a texture that was applied in Blender, but it could
Yeah.
also be Markov's painting. I don't know.
These leaves though look like maybe he threw in some painting
Yeah.
stuff. Um I think the biggest thing with his stuff, and we talked about this last time, is like just getting it to feel more like a matte painting and not so much like it. This is like the in between, right? And I
Yeah.
think a lot of what would help it is the possibly like the crispness of the edges. And I'm not gonna pretend like I'm an expert matte painter because that's just like not really my style. But if you're trying to get this to look more like an oil painting, you're gonna want to go in with your brush and start like painting over this stuff, like actually
Hmm.
painting over this stuff. I would even just, I don't know, get, I don't know. I guess sometimes this is what they do, right? They literally just like paint out some of the extra grain because at the end of the day, like from this distance, you're not usually seeing all this tiny little grain so clearly. There's like the camera would be like focusing on a subject, for example, and
Yeah.
maybe that's what it is. Everything except for the background has the same level of crispness, and if you look at any
Hmm.
photograph, it's not crisp everywhere. It's crisp where the camera is focusing on it. So
Yeah.
I think that's why matte painters paint out some of this extraneous detail. Like you see how there's like little hits of like white in this
Yeah.
shadow. Like we don't need to see that. Just
Well, it's like
knock
we
it
were talking
back.
about before with Meg. Like, you want to be using visual tricks to guide the eye. And when you have so much detail in a place that doesn't matter for the story that you're trying to tell,
Mm-hmm.
the eye's just going to go all over the place. Like, your viewer is going to be left alone without guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of what we talk about on these streams is like, don't be subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, demand your viewers' attention where you want it. And there are, with this like sort of more 3D object style that Markov is using here, like it's uh it's not clear where we should be giving our focus.
Yeah, we want to give our focus, I think, here, but
Mm-hmm.
there's some tricks we can do to get you there, which is like lighting specifically, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
even just very subtle gradients. So like it's so bright back here. There's no reason for it to be
Yeah.
bright back there. Like I know
And
that it's
like I think sometimes when we work with 3D tools, we have a tendency to be like, well, it's perfect. Like a
yeah.
computer rendered it to be so exact, so I shouldn't mess with any of this. But a lot of the time when concept artists are working, or like environment artists in general, or I don't really know that much about map painting, but like you can bend the rules of reality in order to get your point across. And in
Mm-hmm.
fact, you probably should.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these tiles it
Hmm.
almost looks too everything is too perfect, right? We want
Yeah.
some chaos in
Yeah,
some
some
spots.
more like impressionistic
There's
kind of
also no
flair.
bloom. Like this guy's got a nice
Okay.
shiny round head. Like just if you just hit that with a little bit of bloom, that's going to make him pop off the background a bit. And that's also something that I
Okay.
think the camera would probably pick up. Like you're not going to see these like super crisp
Hmm.
edges. Like maybe we give some sort of like magical glow to where this traveler just came from.
Yeah.
Like that's another way to kind of lead us forward. Maybe we
I don't
design. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I don't think that we have Markov with us right now, so
Okay.
I'd be really curious to ask to understand more about how this style works,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not something I've tried all that much. I
Well,
learned how to photo bash and then I stopped.
he did post his 3D model, but I think
Oh,
he just
nice.
kind of like painted over it, or
Hmm.
like you said, he textured it and then like painted over some stuff. Like here's another thing, like we really got to think about being a designer while we're working on this stuff too.
Hmm.
Like design some sort of pathway here. Like even if you're just laying down stones in your 3D model, doesn't mean you can't like add to it. Like maybe there's more of like a square motif here and then it's mimicked on this
Yeah.
side. Like design the space to look like badass. Like maybe
And because
there's
you have the reference from the rest of the 3D model, like this is how the light is treating this stone, you can
mm-hmm.
just be like, okay, I know that now. I can just paint it in.
Yep.
Uh, you get to cheat and not cheat at the same time.
Yeah.
Also, that makes a huge difference.
Like a little lantern or something.
Yeah.
Again, don't forget the bloom. I'm probably going overkill with it, but it's just to prove a point.
Hmm.
Um, like here, maybe because we need to break up our eye from the monotony of these like same shaped stones everywhere. Like I'm thinking in the middle, probably what I would do. I'll just show you guys more or less what I would do, so you can learn a little Photoshop tip. But I would do something like
Not
this.
Photoshop tips with Nick Hagiala.
I'd do something like this, and then just like make some sort of cool design. I'm not gonna be thinking
It's like a
about
little guy going like, eh.
it. There you go, good enough. And then what we can do is grab this thing and like warp it to our stone. Now we've got like a
Awesome.
cool symmetrical pattern that we can work off of. It's gonna drive me nuts. That's good enough. Right? And then
Nice.
now
Yeah.
we've got these like we've got like a basis for a pattern. We could start like lighting this thing again based on the lighting that we have in the scene. Can lift up some of the stone. Like all this stuff is just gonna keep adding to the piece. Like I understand that probably just setting up the model in the first place took forever because this is like pretty complicated
Yeah.
scene. But yeah, if you want to get a good portfolio piece out of it, you got to just sit and do the work, right? Just like render and design, make it look cool.
Hmm.
So,
That gives you the opportunity to like show off your ingenuity and your
mm-hmm.
ability to design and think uh like a storyteller.
Yeah.
I took a class once with a um, character designer who had worked on Assassin's Creed, like the
Mm.
I think the first one. He was very cool. I think his name is Eric Ryan. Um, and he told this anecdote about how like he added all of these elements into Altair's outfit that were like eagles and like birds of prey and stuff like that because Altair means eagle. And nobody asked him to do it on like the writing team or anything. And nobody noticed
Mm.
after he had done it. But like now that I know that, I'm like, oh yeah, that is so cool. I love how like kind of how much that character had all of these elements of the eagle, and it's it feels really cool that as artists we get to do things like that and have that uh, ideation and influence and stuff like that.
And I think as viewers, you subconsciously know when a design is really special, even if you can't necessarily explain it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Altair's outfit is he's like one of the coolest looking video game characters of all time. So
Yeah,
it's like you
that
want to
was like my first big game that I played too, so
really.
it holds a yeah special place in my
I
heart.
love that game so much. Yeah, it's like you want to be that person that's like designing that cool stuff that people look at and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, "Whoa, what is this? How do I pay this person to do this thing?" You know?
Yeah, exactly. I want them to bring my ideas to life.
Yeah. Is anyone? Okay, Yara just said appreciate the critique. We'll work on all those things.
Yeah.
Sweet. I almost want this like. Sorry, I'm kind of just like noodling with this, but hopefully you guys are learning some stuff just by watching me. I typically don't go like this ham on the critiques, but this is like a very good template for me to
Mm.
paint over.
Yeah, it's got like all the foundation stuff that one desires in a piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the other thing too. Like the ground is too much the same color. Like let's and
Mm.
you could make the argument, well, it's like a monk sanctuary and they keep it perfectly clean and blah blah blah. But it's like this is boring. Like there's probably some like I doubt they've got a power washer, right? Like there's probably some moss and stuff like that growing on this
You know
stone.
what they have as their power washer?
Huh.
Their apprentices. I was going to say interns, but that's
Oh,
not what you call them in the
yeah.
military.
Pretty sure they're not the interns. Um, I think I
Oh
was
yeah, like add a little bit of fishies in there.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Oliver's piece that he presented, but that's gonna
Mm.
even this just adds to the storytelling, so that's not just like this empty environment. Maybe we throw some lily pads on here,
Yeah.
right? Like if you've ever seen one of these ponds, like they're just like rife with stuff. There's just stuff in these ponds. There's like sometimes like weird like plants sticking out of them.
Yeah, and if you wanted to like not go with such a natural look to that, like you could build a fountain in there or a little
Mm,
sculpture, you know.
good call.
There are plenty of ways that you can break up um the like design elements in the composition here that, you know, aren't exactly the way that Nick is doing it.
Hmm.
Um
Yeah, everything I'm doing right now is like, what's the first thing that's coming to my mind? I would obviously, with
mhm,
a piece like this, I would have mapped it out even before going into 3D modeling. Like at least just the concept, the thumbnail, because this is a pretty big piece
mhm.
to just kind of dive into without a clear idea. Yeah, like even these
I think
clouds.
it's a cool angle. It's a cool scene. Um, I I think there's just like a wealth of stuff that could be done with this.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna show you guys too what it's gonna look like. We turn it on, turn the layers on and off.
Hmm.
All right, let's see what we've got. Look at that.
Yeah, makes a difference.
Trying to pull your eye in. I even think adding things like this, like the square, like just stuff here. It's like it is kind of bringing you in a little bit more. Because here it's like we just have this big texture, stone texture. It's like
Yeah.
where am I supposed to look? I do like that he has this fountain, circular fountain that kind of creates this vertical line, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's like we can just push it more. So
Yeah. I think like a lot of Markov's pieces have like a really strong like first stroke,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh, I can see what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I just want you to do more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like, get that last little 10% of refining there and you'll be golden.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's mostly about just designing your scene. Like this monk
Mhm.
guy could have had more stuff. Like even this guy is just like, I know that, I mean, he's probably not done with this too. I would
Oh
think
yeah.
maybe, but yeah, it's like the dude doesn't even have like a feature, like give him a big huge
His default
mustache.
human.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it because it's gonna drive me insane.
With the pith helmet, he needs a mustache.
Wait, with the what?
Pith helmet?
Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
P-I-T-C. Wait, no, not P-I-T-H. Pith.
Huh. Yeah,
I
like
love that.
he needs like a big huge mustache.
There's like Nigel Thornberry vibes going on.
Yes. Yeah. Why not, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll give him a freaking eye patch too.
I love this guy.
Yeah. Okay. You guys get the idea, I think. Okay, let's see what else. Okay. Yeah, Oliver's got a pretty like finished piece, so
Mhm.
I want to take a look at this. So it's very interesting seeing Oliver's style like evolve over time because I've
Yeah.
known him for like years and years and years now, and he has this like essence to his work, and it's like I think he's getting a lot closer to connecting the dots in terms of like a style because I can start to see
Mhm.
it form, but I think it just needs like this extra little oomph, and I'm trying
Yeah.
to figure out what that is. I think the biggest thing is that the character is getting lost in the environment,
Mm.
especially near his head. So it's
And
like,
that little fishy right there, that is kind of a tangent that it's like coming
yeah,
straight
out of
down
his,
from his face.
yeah, yeah. So let's just see what we can do with this. That's a good call. And always just like either make it smaller or just like, I don't
Its tail sort of moving the other way.
know. Yeah.
I love how Oliver has like really layered the greens and the blues in this piece to uh like build up the atmosphere in the space. Because in real life we do see a lot of variation in the different hues in natural environments. Um, so like up at the top, like above the character's head, like there's a slightly desaturated, more bluish kind of spray across, that yellower, more olivey color. Um, and I think like if you can employ those like little shifts in painting natural spaces, like you just totally got it.
Mm-hmm.
I I'm wondering also about the like way that the character is drawn. Like I understand we got this really cool like fisheye
Mm-hmm.
fish effect happening, but and it is sort of like a stylistic thing too, that there's a like distortion of the figure too, but does it need a little more grounding, or is that just
You're saying the pose?
well, yeah, the pose, and like I wonder if his like body proportions are correct.
Yeah,
It's a little hard to tell with the stylistic rendering.
it's the rendering, and it's also like the fact that there's like things that are, and I get that. That's what I was trying to say is like I get that this is like kind of his style of like it's
Hmm.
just kind of a mess, right? But it's like what he needs to start trying to figure out is like how he can get his mess looking more readable. right?
And purposeful.
And purposeful. Yeah. Yeah, cuz it's cool. It's
Yeah.
almost like borderline abstract,
Hmm.
but yeah, I'm trying to
There's a quality that like when you see a piece from an artist who's like really coming into their own, where you're like, I recognize this. I feel like I have seen something that this reminds me of, or that I can connect this to other. Even if you've never seen anything like it before, it just has a sort of connection that you're like, oh yeah, that kind of thing.
yeah.
And I think Oliver's getting there is what I was going to say in my
Yeah,
very
yeah.
roundabout way. I think
Yeah.
knocking that fish back really helped bring the character forward.
Yeah, and it's like if we're going like kind of crazy with the colors, like I would hit the top of the head with like some of this blue,
Mm,
because if it's some, I don't know, crazy skylight. Yeah, it's almost like he's kind of creating this like magical lighting scenario,
yeah.
which is really cool. It's just like even that shape that I just painted over, like what would be occluding the light from hitting there? I don't think anything. So
Mm-mm.
I think that's where he just needs to hone in a little bit and like still do this style of like the craziness, but yeah, just try to figure out the lighting a lot more.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, this is like this. It's cool because it's like this. Never in a million years would I think of a composition like this. These like cool little like statues and the fish. They're all swirling around. I like that they're all coming towards his foot too. That's the other
Hmm.
thing. I do think that there's something wrong with the this part of the painting. Like everything here is working, and I
Yeah.
like that it's tall. This is a good use of a tall composition, but I'm trying to
Mm.
figure out like what the heck is not working here. Maybe it's just some more of these like rocky
Yeah.
stones and stuff like that. Like, is this a waterfall? Like, what is this right
Yeah, I
here?
think it's like a little short waterfall, and maybe there's like the sort of stream continues on
Okay.
past there. The perspective is kind of like
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's doing something a little bit wonky, so
yeah.
that in like a purposeful way, I believe. So that may be why we're having trouble like situating it. Um,
Just trying to
oh,
see
I
like
had a thought and then I lost it.
what's going on up here that's bothering me.
Oh, I know
Yeah.
what I was gonna say. So there's a lot of detail in this piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's non-specific detail, unlike the way that the 3D objects were showing up in Markov's piece.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have like this sort of pinball effect of where your eye wants to go,
Mm-hmm.
but in a like directed way because of the way that this detail is rendered.
We want your eye to go to his feet, I think.
Oh,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Um, but you can have like a little vacation in a lot of different areas in the
Mm-hmm.
painting.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. We still do need it to. Oh, man, I can't figure out what's going. What it is up here. It's just like just too bright up there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, it makes the brightness on the figure's back stand out a
Mm-hmm.
lot more, which I think is rendered quite beautifully, and it's an interesting moment.
Yeah, I'm looking on my other monitor because it's smaller. See it in like
Hmm.
thumbnail view. Like, yeah, his head pops way more with some of this treatment. When you're having trouble popping something, it's either the thing behind it is too bright or too dark, right? Like it's going to be one or the other. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, I think Oliver should keep it up with like this look. It's just like I just think it needs to be like rendered more or something. I think
Hmm.
that's maybe what it is. I don't know how you get this like chaotic thing rendered better, but like here, okay, here's a good example is like even these little like statue guys, like there needs to be very clear lighting on them. So
Hmm.
if you're telling us the lighting is coming from like the back side, like they're gonna be kind of lit more like this, and then like this part's gonna be like darker. Like there
Yeah.
just needs to be more like of a, yeah, I mean it takes a lot of work, but that's just kind of the name of the game with rendering. But I think that's just what needs to get done is everything
Yeah.
is just feeling
And
too
like,
loosey goosey.
I think the way that you and I tend to paint is very reminiscent of traditional oil painting in the sort of more modern oil
Mm-hmm.
style. Whereas a piece like this feels very like watercolor
Mm-hmm.
kind of. Um, and there is a watercolor can be like really tepid, and the the like masters of that style are pushing the like gentleness of the medium to the extreme. So they're like maintaining that softness
Mm-hmm.
and flowiness of the way that you can create things with that style, but like intensifying it.
Mm.
I feel as though I've been speaking very abstractly this stream, but please believe me, I'm trying my best.
Yeah, I get
It's
what
been a
you're
long
saying.
week, fam.
Yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, with watercolor, it's like you can be very soft and gentle with it, but you can push watercolor to have a realism to it, even if it has some of those like bleeded edges and stuff like that. And I
Yeah.
think that's the intersection that Oliver needs to find is like which spots do I render? Which spots do I leave more loose? Why am I
Mhm.
leaving this spot loose as opposed to it being tighter? Is there noise in a
Yarrow also,
spot?
I feel like is similar like feeling.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's like because I know Oliver's process, so I'm just trying to figure out like how
Hmm.
he would apply his process to my like my methodology of painting.
Hmm.
And I think it just comes down to having a very clear understanding of the lighting,
Yeah.
and I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah, but yeah, he did a nice job. So good
Yeah.
work,
I really
man.
like this piece, Oliver. Good
Yeah.
job.
Okay. I think I saw. Even though he didn't. Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna look at Rio's really quick because
Sure.
he. This feels so like 60s
Whoa.
sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
It's like a magazine cover or something from the like 60s or 70s, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the it's like if we just everything is pretty much working except for this. Like if we look at this, the lighting looks pretty consistent. There's something up
Hmm.
with this thing that's just not right. It almost looks like there's a shadow on top of something. So I'm not totally sure what happened there, but
Oh, like maybe it's another rock formation that's casting a shadow on
I
that one?
think, but it looks like it's like, but that
It's
doesn't make sense,
yeah,
right? Because
it
the
doesn't.
the lighting is going at this angle. So yeah, nothing should be casting a shadow forward. So I think that's maybe what is
Mm.
the mismatch. So if he wanted a shape here, I'd recommend doing some sort of like little rock formation thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then lighting lighting the top. Something like this. It's really blending in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it. It's just yeah, he accidentally like gave himself an extra lighting source or something. And then this is
Yeah, I mean,
just so
if you,
blown out too.
yeah, I
What were you gonna say?
was gonna say, no, I lost it. It happens sometimes.
No worries.
Oh, hello. Not yet.
But yeah, this is really cool. I think the other thing I would say too, and it kind of is part of the style, I guess, but this is another one where it needs more like juice in the colors. Everything feels
Mm.
so like pale. So I'm wondering if we need vibrance. Yeah, look at that. You guys
Mm.
just
So
just a
there is
bit.
some really beautifully subtle color shifting in the shadow on those far dunes.
Mm-hmm.
But when you amped it up like that, I was like, oh, that looks great.
Yeah.
It brought out that work even further.
Yeah. And once you have a basis for more saturation, your whites can appear more white. I think that's the thing. It's like when
Mm.
you're already hanging out in this area, then when you go to white, it looks more white as opposed to just like everything's kind of in this upper left corner of the box where everything's kind of blown
Mm.
out and pale. So, yeah, I think in general this is like pretty cool. I think he said he was still like going to do stuff to this. I don't know exactly what
Uh,
he would do.
yeah, he said he was still working on it and he sort of rushed to get the foreground in.
Get the foreground in. Oh, that would maybe make sense why this was like not
Odd.
looking the best. But yeah, I think he could maybe like look at some references of planets and see like what weird like swirly clouds and stuff do they have going on, cuz if he like rendered the crap out of this thing, that would give a
Mm.
really nice big focal point right in the middle of the canvas. You don't want it to be super crisp, but I would even say like try something like grabbing the smudge tool and just kind of
Oh.
digging in to this could give some cool effects. This is like
I
where
don't
you
know
can
why,
really
but
play around.
this reminds me of the kids' book Zathura. I think that's what it's called.
Zathura. Huh.
Oh, they made it into a movie. That's awful.
Why is it really weird or what?
Uh, it's very different from the original book, which is
Oh,
Chris Van Allsburg. Um, I will post a link in the Discord. It's Rio might be like, "What are you talking about? This is completely different," but it feels the same to me.
I think the other thing too is on this little guy. I would just hit it with just a tad of darkness. Just make it a tad darker so that he stands out. I get that like he's supposed to kind of blend in with everything,
Hmm.
but yeah, just making it a little bit darker is gonna give your eye something to look to as well. Yeah, something like that. Oh, that's much better. Okay, cool. Here,
Yeah.
let's go back and forth with this. Yeah, yeah. Just keep pushing it. I think this is the other thing too. Like these little notches for stars, they're just all the same small size. Like vary up.
Mm.
Like maybe one is like even. Just give an example of the size. Like maybe one's like even like this big, and then one's like really tiny. Just kind of
Yeah.
because then it gives you some more
Ooh.
little points to like.
Yeah.
They're so small, they're like a pixel big right now. You can't even really.
I didn't even see them until
Yeah,
you zoomed in.
maybe one is bigger but it's like on the edge of the canvas, for example. you know I know it probably shouldn't be like overkill, but yeah, just the
Overkill us? Not at all.
yeah, just those
Perish the
little
thought.
little touches help. Nice. Cool. All right.
Yeah, very cool piece.
Last one I just want to look at is, I think Cornwielder was in the chat. I don't
Hmm.
know if he's still there. And this isn't. He said this isn't for the prompt, but I just thought this was a cool piece he's working on. He said it's a
Oh,
panel for a
yeah.
comic book. So
Nice lines.
yeah, yeah, it's really nice.
Was this digital or traditional? Do we know?
I'm not sure.
Let's
Let's see if we can figure out by zooming in. Can't really tell. Um.
It reads traditional, which I always like
Mm-hmm.
in seeing. It's digital. Okay.
Okay.
Um.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say, I'm not sure if you have a perspective grid set up, but some of the stuff looks not totally right.
Hmm.
Like this church thing. I'm being like nitpicky at this point. This is a really, really nice piece, and it's like,
Yeah.
especially if it's a little comic book panel, like someone's gonna look at it very shortly in comparison to the rest of the book, but it's not an excuse to not have good perspective, right?
Yeah. Is this another like slightly distorted perspective too? Because
It's
the way that
definitely three
the
point perspective, at
yeah,
least. But I don't know if it's like.
I don't know if that would because the houses that are closer to the figure are very steep, and then that church in the back is like we're seeing more of the facade than we are of the roof, and I feel like we still wouldn't even if
All right, should I be
it was
annoying
three
and
point.
just set up a perspective grid so we can check? Let's see.
Try to create elevation within 3 point perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's tough.
yeah, yeah. Just trying to find. Yeah, you see. I'm trying to like first line it up with this
Hmm.
house down here.
Yeah.
Like that is looking right, but then you see the church over there.
Even if it was on a higher like outcropping or like there was a hill or something, it would still be affected by that angle.
Yeah, explain it with your hands.
Just shut up.
Yeah, I mean, perspective's perspective at the end of the day. Like, it shouldn't matter if there's elevation or whatever. Like, it's still right. Like, even if we're kind of doing something like that's this like, a rounded kind of
Yeah, like it might
fisheye perspective.
tilt away
But do you
from
see what I'm talking about with the
yeah,
church? Then this should be kind of going like this.
like whoa, the
Yeah,
crazy church.
yeah. I mean, we don't need to be that like nuts with the angles, but it just, I think it's also these posts that were kind of bothering me.
Hmm. Well, I think all of the vertical lines need to be affected by the same origin point. Um,
All of the vertical lines need, yeah, like
yeah.
they need to converge on the, well, although if the church is tilt like turned, if it's, you know, that would mean everything is going in this direction, right? If the
Yeah.
church is like angled just a little bit, right? Sorry, I know I'm drawing really small. Like the front of
Hmm.
it is pointing more this way, that would affect it, but it just still, I don't know, it just still looks a little off. And we're being like super nitpicky, but it's always good
Yeah.
to kind of like double check your perspective, especially for a complicated scene like this, and especially if you're working digitally. Then like here's another thing too, like the the banding of your house here is bumping out, but if we are doing a fisheye lens, that would mean it would kind of go in like this, I think, right? I don't think it would like on this side of the screen, wouldn't
Hmm.
everything kind of warp in
Yes.
like this, right?
Yeah, because it's like there's a big circle sort of pushing
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. So I think those are some of the things that are like looking a little bit off. Um, in terms of the composition in general, I mean, looks really cool. I'd say the character is getting a little lost there.
Hmm.
So that's another opportunity of like, you know, just thankfully with comic book art, you can kind of fudge things a little bit with your
Yeah.
lighting. And I would make a very clear read around the character's head in particular. That's cool. I didn't even notice this like guitar thing. Like this would have been an opportunity in my opinion. I guess you have all your trees kind of angling this way, you have the smoke angling this way, so it makes sense for the cape. But if you could have had the cape blowing this way, we could have seen the instrument a little bit
Mm.
more. Or I wonder if there's a way to kind of have the cape go whoop, just a little bit up so we could just see
Yeah.
the bass of this guitar a little bit more so it's not so hidden. But again, if it's a comic book, I'm sure you've been showing them that the whole time. But you know, if you ever presented this as just a still frame, yeah, this is a really cool style. So
Reminds me of did you ever read Bone by Jeff Smith?
no,
That's my favorite graphic novel. It's
I
so good.
yeah,
And
I know what it
his
is. I
ink
just never
work
read it.
is nice.
The first thing it made me think of is there's this comic book called Klaus by Dan Mora, and it's like
Mm.
imagine like a badass Santa Claus. It's like the origin of Santa, but it's like he's like a
Is
warrior
that
and stuff.
the what they based the movie on? That was
No,
on
no, it
Netflix?
just
Oh,
happened to they
had the same
happened to make
name.
another, yeah, make a movie around the same time, but yeah, Dan Mora's ink work is really cool, and it also is
Mm.
like a snowy, obviously like a snowy world. So that's
Very
actually
cool.
interesting. That I at least I think is this snow? Is I think it's snow.
I definitely read Snow,
You read
but
snow too? Okay. Yeah, because on
yeah.
the rooftops and stuff. Unless that's the smoke. Bone is a major influence. Yes. Yes. Snow. Okay.
It
Okay.
is
Good.
Snow. Okay.
Yeah. That's cool that you sold us snow in a piece that's completely like ink. You know.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think especially
Yeah.
like the you know footprints or whatever, the depressions in the snow, all that stuff. So cool. Nice work, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is probably a good place to call it. I think we got through most of them.
Yeah. I do I have to feed this one
Yeah.
because it is his dinner time.
But yeah,
finally.
guys, we have a new prompt up, so feel free to start chipping away at that. As always, just share stuff in the Discord. And yeah,
Mhm.
this was fun, guys. Thanks for joining me again,
Yeah.
Alice. And
Thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks for your work.
yeah, cool. All right, everyone. We will talk to you later then.
Bye.
Bye.